We're in the beautiful and vibrant city of Montreal. It's a great place to visit in order to see the sights and enjoy the delicious food, but I'm equally excited to play poker while I'm in town. The WPT is hosting a tournament festival at Playground. It's my first time here since they massively expanded their property, including building a whole new poker area. I'm reunited with the Mike Sexton Champions Cup. I've been close to getting my name etched on it a few times with deep runs and a final table, but I'm looking forward to getting another crack at it on this trip. While we're looking at the cup, it's worth mentioning the WPT Global is hosting an online championship event this month with a $1 million guarantee, and if you win, your name will forever be on the cup. It's a cool chance to accomplish that from your house with day one flights running August 12th through August 18th. Sign up to WPT Global using the bonus code BRAD for a deposit match bonus of up to $1,500 and more. I have additional information in the description box below. Before hopping into the live tournaments at Playground, we're kicking things off with a Meetup game. I buy in for $1,000 USD, I get 1,320 Canadian dollars in return. We're starting out in the 2-5 game where 1,000 is the max, so I take some chips off the table as we're getting started a little after noon. Poker legend and WPT commentator Vince Van Patten is a few doors down, winning big pots with the most prestigious hand in the game. I get off to a slow start, but I'm having a great time, meeting people, and running into some familiar faces of vlog villains. Tiny Chris.
Hey, there he is, man.
The vlog's
#1 enemy.
nemesis.
In the flesh.
I first met and played with Chris in the spring of 2018. He introduced himself as Big Chris and told me to call him that in the vlog. I obviously couldn't do that. Tiny Chris has appeared on a few vlogs now, including the last one when I was in Montreal when he stacked me. Maybe we can get some revenge while we're sitting on his direct left. In this one, we're dealt pocket fives under the gun +1 with a tiny straddle on from the under the gun player. I raised to 30. You guys know that look someone gives right before they cut out chips and 3-bet? Well, the small blind has that look on his face right now. He goes to his stack, grabbing a couple of non-calling chips and 3-bets to 115. We're not playing particularly deep, so folding is reasonable. It's just not fun. I'm here to get in the mix with viewers. I call for 85 more. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 7-3 deuce rainbow. We don't hit a set, but we've got second pair and a backdoor straight draw. Small blind bets 150. This isn't a board that's typically going to be great for his 3-bet range. There are a handful of turn cards that'll be good for us that are lower, like 4, 5s, or 6s. It's too soon to let go of our pocket pair at the moment. I call to see if the dealer can help us out. He flips over the queen of clubs, crushing our hopes of hitting a straight. We could be drawing dead if the opponent has pocket queens. The small blind doesn't let up. He fires again for 175. You can see across from us that the TV camera's rolling. I'd love for the camera guy to see me take down a big pot after making some tough decisions, but that's not going to happen. I fold knowing that we might have gotten bluffed. The opponent shows his cards. The first one we see is an ace. Then an offsuit king gets turned over. The small blind does a good job getting me to fold the best hand. It's never fun to get bluffed, but I'm content with how I played. We just have to make the best decisions with the information we have available. I add on for the 320 Canadian that I had in my pocket before looking down at Jack 10 suited on the button. Vince Van Patten made his way to the second table with us as well. He has the straddle on for 10. Under the gun +1 makes a big raise to 60. We're not going to shy away from action when we've got perhaps the most fun combo to play in poker. I call. It's 50 more for Vince to stick around. He calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. It comes 10-4 deuce rainbow. We've got top pair. Our 2 opponents check. We need to protect against combos containing overcards. I bet 105. Winning on this street would be a decent outcome since it's already a fairly large pot for a 2-5 game. Vince is out for blood though. He raises to 225. It's a very small raise size. Under the gun +1 folds. It's only 120 more for us, even though I'm not exactly sure what Vince has. I call suspecting that he might have raised to see where he was at with a medium strength hand, which can sometimes be the case when the raise isn't too large. The turn is the king of clubs, putting a flush draw on the board and downgrading us to second pair. Vince has 570 remaining in the stack. Maybe his hand isn't so medium strength after all. Vince has got 2 words for us.
All in.
I already wasn't feeling great about our pair of 10s. Now I'm really not feeling great. It doesn't take me long before making my decision.
All right, Vince, you win. I fold.
Vince is a class act. He's not out to make me look stupid. He prefers bigger challenges. Vince says he's willing to show for the vlog. He eventually reveals that he has Jack 10, but of clubs. The poker veteran picked up the flush draw on the turn and got me to fold while he was free rolling against us. It's a great play considering that he got me to lay down the same pair with the same kicker. I've already been tested with some difficult decisions early on today. I'm stuck several hundred after only playing an hour and 15 minutes. It's time to go to the 1-3 table where we pick up 3 deuce of diamonds in the small blind. Hopefully they'll respect my raises here. The straddle's on for 5. Under the gun +1 limps in. The hijack calls. I call. The big blind raises to 13, which isn't a large enough sizing to accomplish much other than building a large pot multi-way. Everyone who already had money invested calls for 8 more. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It comes ace 8-7 with 2 diamonds. We've got a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. I check. The big blind bets 30. This clears the way a little as under the gun +1, and the hijack fold. We're getting a good price. I call to see the turn. The 10 of diamonds comes out, giving us the flush. Luckily for us, the ace of diamonds is accounted for, reducing the amount of flushes the big blind could have to have us beat. The 10 of diamonds is good in that regard as well. I check. The opponent is a humongous fan of the sizing that he chose on the flop. He decides to stick with it, betting 30 again. The big blind doesn't have much left in his stack. He's got about 195 remaining. I jam to see if he's willing to play for all of it. The opponent has a decision. When he doesn't snap call, I know we're best. Not that I was all that concerned anyway. I didn't take his small turn bet as a sign of significant strength. The big blind ends up being stronger than I suspected. He turns over ace-7 of hearts. He's got top and bottom pair. He owns me with a fold. I can't help but have a bit of fun with the viewer.
Good fold, good fold.
Thank you.
I mean, it wasn't the. I didn't have that beat.
You don't have the flush?
No, I had
We're having a great time playing cards and joking back and forth. It'd be slightly better if we were winning, but there's still plenty of time to pull out the victory. At the 5th table of the session, we're dealt queen 10 of hearts on the button. The straddle to 5 is on. Under the gun +1 and under the gun +2 limp in. These people claim to be viewers, even though I've told everyone over and over not to open limp in cash games. They've got to be punished. I raised to 30. The big blind calls. Under the gun calls. Under the gun +1, under the gun +2 fold. 3 of us are seeing the flop. It comes queen 10 deuce rainbow. We've got top 2 pair. Checks to me. We need to charge straight draws. I bet 50 for value and protection. The big blind folds. Under the gun won't let us win it easily. He calls. The turn is the 5 of diamonds. It's a total brick. Under the gun checks. It's time to go big in case the opponent has a queen that he's reluctant to let go of. I bet 175 to target top pair combos worse than ours. I'll occasionally take this line as a bluff with a straight draw because it's a good board for our range since 2 Broadway cards are out there. As we can see, it's a good board for our actual hand as well. Under the gun folds. I show right away that we had it. After the rough starts of the day, we're stringing some wins together in order to close in on the even mark, but we've still got plenty of work to do. Next, we're dealt pocket 4s in the small blind with the straddle to 5 on. Under the gun +2 raises to 15. The hijack calls, the button calls. Our hand has a lot of potential. I call to set mine. The big blind calls. Under the gun calls as well. We're going 6 ways to the flop. Texas heads up. It comes 4-3 deuce rainbow. We've got top set, which is tough to do with 4s. Checks to the pre-flop raiser. She bets 30. Not a large sizing. This is a very bad flop for the early position raiser's range since it's all low cards and she'll tend to have high ones. The hijack and button fold. We have the option to raise right now, which would reveal the strength of our hand. With this move, we protect our equity against straight draws and overpairs, but we may not make any more money. I choose the riskier option and call. This disguises the strength of our hand, but if a card like an ace, 5, or 6 comes out, we could be in trouble. The big blind calls. Under the gun folds. It's down to 3 of us. The turn is the jack of hearts, putting a flush draw out there. Other than that, I'm not too mad about seeing it. I check. The big blind checks. Under the gun +2 shows some concern that she's not best. She checks back. The river is the 7 of clubs. There's a possibility that someone has pocket 7s and improved to seal the lead against us. I'm not worried about anyone having a straight though. I bet 125 to ensure that it doesn't check through again. The big blind can't imagine what we could possibly have that'd be strong enough to bet 125 after we only called the bet on the flop and not much has changed on the turn or river. He calls quickly to keep us honest. Under the gun +2 doesn't believe that we've got it either. She probably takes the quick call from the big blind as a sign of weakness since he didn't contemplate raising for even a second. After almost a minute, under the gun +2 calls. We've got to be good as we show our set of 4s. The big blind mucks his cards, but as he does so, his cards hit the dealer's hand, revealing that he somehow had a jack. If we had raised on the flop, the big blind almost certainly would have had to have folded. Instead, our patience pays off as we get paid by him on the river and by Under the Gun +2, who reveals that we cracked our pocket kings to win a substantial pot. Now that we're making some hands and cashing in, we're only down 200 on the session. Here we're dealt ace-9 suited under the gun after straddling for 5. Under the gun +1 raises to 15. The hijack button and small blind call. I call for 10 more. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It comes 10-9-9 with 2 hearts. We've got trips and a lot of great candidates to get us out of Stuckville. Checks to the button. He bets 30. The small blind folds. I run back the same play that we used previously, and I call to disguise the strength of our hand, even though there are a few draws out there. Under the gun +1 in the hijack call. The turn is the 6 of spades. 8-7 is the only draw that gets there, and it's unlikely that anyone called with a straight draw on the flop when the board is paired and there's a flush draw out there. So the only new combo that I imagine we realistically lose to is 8-7 of hearts or maybe 8-7 of clubs. I check. The opponents all check behind. Our trips with the best kicker possible should be best. The river is the 3 of clubs. It's another blank. I love seeing that. Our patience once again pays off as we get a relatively clean run out. It's time to charge our opponents. I bet 175. If we get called in this spot, we're going to finally be out of the hole. Under the gun +1 folds. He might have just had a busted flush draw. The hijack comes through in the clutch and makes the call though. I'm ecstatic to make the comeback. The button folds. We show the win. Oh shoot. We don't have the winner. The opponent has 8-7 offsuit for the straight that we thought no one would have because it wouldn't be good to have 8-7 offsuit at all after calling a bet pre-flop, and it's not great to call a flop bet on a paired board with a flush draw for a suit that the opponent doesn't even have. But the hijack gets the victory and wants to make sure that we show his WPT Global patch just to emphasize how soft those online games have to be if he's playing on the site. Remember to sign up using the bonus code BRAD to get all kinds of perks and fire in the WPT Championship event with me, or perhaps some of the smaller buy-in events that I'm hopping into as well. We're dealt pocket kings under the gun +1 as the event's winding down. There's a special dinner planned post-game at a restaurant off-site, but I'm determined to play as long as I can in order to book a win, and this is the perfect hand to help us accomplish that goal. I raised to 10. The button, small blind, and big blind call. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It comes 6-5 deuce, all hearts. We've got an overpair and a flush draw. Checks to us. I'm not afraid of another heart coming out. I check partly for pot control and partly for deception. Plus, we can gain a little extra information from our opponents before potentially building the pot ourselves. The button likes seeing all the passivity. He can't help himself. He bets 16. Small blind and big blind aren't strong enough to stick around. They fold. The button might be bluffing. We could have him in bad shape, especially if he doesn't have the ace-high flush draw. The opponent may even be taking a small stab with complete air. I call to keep the bottom part of his range in. It's down to heads up. The turn is the 7 of clubs. It's connected to the board, but I'm not very concerned about the button taking the lead from us because there aren't that many combos he'll have that turn 2 pair or a set. I check. The opponent doesn't appear to be worried that we check called his bet on the flop. He bets again, this time for 35. We're going to continue with our game plan, somewhat feigning weakness. There's definitely no reason the opponent should suspect that we're as strong as we are. I call. It probably looks like we've got a flush draw with either the ace or king of hearts. And to be fair, we do. The river is the 3 of hearts, putting 4 to the straight flush on board. We improve to the king high flush. This is a somewhat rare set of circumstances in which I wish we didn't improve because we could check call to pick off the opponent in the instances that he didn't have anything of value, but with our line, it looks like we have a strong flush, so if we check, there's too high of a percentage that the opponent checks back, even giving up on some of his no equity bluffs. If we bet, it'll be tough for us to get called by worse, but we've got to try. I bet 90 for value. If we get raised, we can probably just fold to a big sizing. It's not that often that we get raised in this spot by anything that isn't the ace-high flush or a straight flush. The opponent briefly considers making the call, perhaps a big move, but he folds.
I had it. Oh, monster!
I made the straight with those 3.
Did you?
The opponent says that he improved to a straight on the river, so he almost definitely would have checked it back if we checked because he had plenty of showdown value with a combo that wasn't quite good enough to bet. Maybe if I went with a smaller sizing, we could have induced a call. We don't have to wait too long before we're dealt pocket queens, another premium. I wasn't dealt too many good starting hands all day, but they're coming in waves right now. Under the gun +1 raises to 13. Under the gun +2 in the hijack call. We don't want to call, go 4 or more ways to the flop, and have to rely on hitting a set to feel comfortable putting in a lot of money post-flop, which would basically turn our high pair into a pair of deuces. I 3-bet to 65 in order to win the pot immediately, or narrow this down to heads up. Under the gun +1 calls, doesn't have a lot of chips behind. Under the gun +2 in the hijack fold, we get what we wanted. There are only 2 of us left, and we're in position. Now comes the tricky part of avoiding a king or ace on the flop. The dealer puts out 10-6-3 with 2 spades. We retain our strength. Under the gun +1 checks. Since he didn't 4-bet pre-flop, he probably just has 2 overcards. He'd also have pocket jacks or a set of 10s, but 10s is the only hand that I put him on that we'd be losing to, and it's still pretty unlikely. I want to keep in combos that are drawing slim. I down bet to 50. The opponent thinks it's suspiciously strong.
You're supposed to check top set there, no?
I wish we had top set, but I'm going to play top set and overpairs pretty similarly on this flop. The opponent doesn't want to fold when he's getting about 4-1. He calls to see the turn. The dealer puts out the deuce of diamonds, putting a second flush draw on the board. Under the gun +1 checks. Now that there are multiple draws out there and the opponent has less than a pot-sized bet left in his stack, I jam for 225 effective. The opponent hates being put to the tough decision. He doesn't want to give up whatever he's got, but it doesn't seem like he's got much. Ultimately, he folds. We show that we had the best hand and we shove for value. Although the opponent doesn't reveal his cards, he later tells me that he had ace-king, which makes perfect sense. It's a nice sized pot for a 1-3 game. The very next hand, we've got ace-queen offsuit in the cutoff. I raise a 10. The button is named Mark. He's been proposing that we take an unorthodox picture together in which we both make a funny face. I'm always happy to take photos, but I have mixed feelings on this particular idea. Mark 3-bets at 30. There aren't a ton of light 3-bets in small stakes games. I call for 20 more to see a flop. We're heads up, out of position. It comes 7-5 deuce with 2 spades and a diamond. We don't smash it, but we've got some potential with 2 overs and some backdoor draws. If another spade comes, we can turn our hand into a bluff, representing the nuts that we'd have removal for. I check. The button puts out a small bet of 20. That's exactly how much I was hoping it'd be. I call. We move on to the turn. It's the 9 of diamonds, putting another flush draw on the board. I check. The opponent keeps the pressure on. He bets 70. The question is, should we chuck? Nah, blockers keep me excited to remain in so that we can turn our hand into a bluff and make an extremely subtle Chuck Knobloch reference for the viewers who are also fans of baseball in the 90s. The river is the king of spades. We drill our fake money card. The opponent has about 400 left in his stack. I've made some large value bets on rivers at this table already, including some all-ins, and I've shown credibility's at an all-time high. We've got removal to the nuts. All systems are go to blast off. I overbet jam to see if the opponent wants to risk his stack with something less than the best possible hand. Knowing that the ace and king of spades are both accounted for after the opponent 3-bet pre-flop, it's incredibly unlikely that we're up against a non-fictional flush as opposed to our fictional flush. The opponent is going to have to dig deep to find a hero call. Ideally, he has some kind of high pocket pair like queens or jacks that was just downgraded a second pair, which would make it even tougher for him to stay around. After a full minute of thinking, the button folds. I can't help but show that we cashed in on our image to get the bluff through. The opponent says he had pocket 10s. I wouldn't recommend taking my line. It's simpler to fold on the turn without referencing a former rookie of the year, but it's certainly fun when everything works out according to plan. Now the idea of taking a picture with the button while making a funny face is a little more appealing, and I do it. We're only down 150. Here we've got ace-jack suited under the gun. I raised a 10. Under the gun +1, the small blind and the big blind all call. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It comes king 9-4 rainbow. We've got 1 over and some backdoor draws. The small blind leads for 25, which I wasn't anticipating. You don't normally see people do that with a really strong hand like 2-pair or set because usually they're more inclined to go for a check raise. Often you see people lead as a stab with a weak 1-pair hand or a draw of some sort. The big blind folds. I'm not ready to abandon our hand. I call. There are quite a few good turns for us, including an ace or high spades. Under the gun +1 folds. It's down to heads up. The turn is the 9 of spades. It pairs the board, but we pick up the flush draw. The small blind checks. It's even less likely that the opponent has 2-pair or a set now that another 9 is accounted for. Checking back and trying to get there is an okay strategy, but I bet 40 to give us a chance to win this right now. The small blind punishes me for betting. He check raises to 100. It's a tiny sizing. This whole hand is bizarre so far. It's too tough to fold for 60 more, even though there's a slight chance we're drawing dead. I call to see if we can hit a real flush. The river is the 7 of hearts. It's a total brick. We're not able to improve. The small blind jams for 250. I can't call for that price. I'm not sure what price it'd have to be. I fold quickly. I've been showing a lot of my hands, even though they don't officially get to showdown. It's only fair that some people return the favor. The small blind reveals that he has ace-king offsuit. I would have expected him to 3-bet that hand pre-flop, but it works out great for him to pretty much get the maximum from me. I'm back at 2-5 and pick up pocket jiggities under the gun. I raise to 15. There are a couple people at the table who know that I need to leave soon, and they've made it clear that they want to get me before that happens. Under the gun +1 calls, middle position player calls as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop out of position. It comes queen 5 deuce rainbow. We've got second pair. I check. Under the gun +1 follows suit and checks. The middle position player tries to win this now. He bets 20. Second pair could be tough to win with, especially out of position against 2 opponents with only a small chance of improving. But knowing this particular opponent has told me several times that he wants to make the vlog, there's a higher than normal probability second pair is best. I call to give the opponent a chance to achieve his goal. Under the gun +1 folds. It's down to heads up. The turn is the jack of hearts. We drill a sneaky set. I check to give my opponent an opportunity to bet with what will surely be a worse hand. Like every fish I've ever tried to catch in the sea. He doesn't take the bait. He checks back, possibly for pot control, hopefully with top pair. The river's the 7 of diamonds. We've got the second nuts. A fun fact is that if the board isn't paired, a set of jacks will never be the nuts because there will either be an overcard, making it possible someone could have a higher set, or there will be a straight possibility on board. I can't permit another check through. I bet 90 to target the opponent's top pair holdings. He's not often going to have second pair since 3 of the jacks are accounted for, and if he has worse than that, he's probably not going to be putting any more money in the pot anyway. The opponent folds, showing he was definitely out to get me with a very speculative call pre-flop.
3-5. Yeah, it was no good.
Really?
Hey,
I don't believe it.
jiggities!
I was good when
There it is.
I was good when I got out.
Do you know how hand rankings work?
Oh yeah.
It's now 6:28 p.m. when we pick up pocket aces. I've got to be at dinner across town at 7 p.m., but we're finally starting to make hands, and listen to me closely, you never, ever leave the table when you're on a heater. Additionally, I'm having a pretty good time playing with the Meetup game viewers who stayed late for a chance to get some Bradley dollars. The fact that I'm slightly stuck and hate having to make videos about losing sessions has nothing to do with why I'm still here. I raised the 15 from under the gun +2, the small blind and big blind call. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. The dealer must think that I have kings because he puts out an ace-high flop with 2 diamonds. We've got top set with time running out on the session. The opponent's check. Our hand is almost too good to bet. I check to allow the players in the blinds a chance to make a move or hit a hand that'll get them in trouble. The turn is another 6. If either opponent has trips, we could stack them. The small blind and big blind disappointingly both check again. We've got to get some money in at this point. I put out a small bet of 15, which shouldn't look very strong. Most of the time, we'll bet if we have top pair or better on the flop, and there won't be many 6s in our range at all after opening from early position, so the amount of value hands that we'll have is pretty slim. The small blind folds. We're relying solely on the big blind to get us back in black today. He folds as well. I make a strong comeback, but I'm not quite able to finish the job of booking a win. It's time to rack up. Played for 6.5 hours. I was stuck 800 at the low point, and I ended up losing 250, so not too bad of a loss, 250 Canadian. And I actually wish that I could have stayed longer to get unstuck, but we've got some special dinner plans tonight with some WPT Global qualifiers, so I'm actually going to be a little bit late for that. I need to head over right now. I make it to the meet and greet the WPT set up for a handful of players in an awesome part of Montreal. We have an amazing dinner with several ambassadors in attendance that goes late into the night. Quite a few prizes were given out, including the separate one-on-one dinner with me at a great new restaurant on property at Playground, where they have a variety of fresh sushi, but I elected to order the filet mignon, which is absolutely delicious. The winner of this prize is Matt, who made the trip out from Whistler, Canada, where he owns a cigar shop and has an apparel company that he's wearing a hat from. He has a few friends with fake names who recommended that he make the trip. Matt seems happy that he made the trip to check it out.
And my buddy Ginger Ale and Optimus Tom, they're from here, so they told me all about Playground. It was just, they said, you gotta go, so here I am, and it's been amazing. So
Awesome, man. Good luck in the main. Let's run it up.
Brother. Thanks.
While I ran somewhat cold in the Meetup game to lose a couple hundred, the poker doesn't end there. Stay tuned for the next vlogs to cover my second ever televised final table run. You won't want to miss it. Spoiler alert, we don't leave Montreal stuck. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to get back to you. Thanks to everybody who showed up at the mug at Playground. That was a ton of fun. And be sure to stay tuned for the next few episodes covering my second ever televised final table. It's the best I've ever done in a large field event, so I'm really excited to share that with you guys. And then don't forget to sign up to WPT Global using the bonus code BRAD. Right now we have our summer festival with $8 million in guaranteed prizes. We have our Prime going on right now, which is a $1,060 buy-in. There are multiple day ones for that. And then we have our 3,500 World Championship event with $1 million guarantee. There are multiple day ones for that. That'll be upcoming pretty soon. I'm gonna fire probably up to 3 bullets in that if I need to, so hopefully we get a chance to play together if you do sign up, and there's more information in the description box below, but hope you guys are all doing well, hope you're staying safe, good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time. Shout out to Ginger Ale and Optimus as well.